Donc bonjour et bienvenue à tous les internautes et fans du magazine Bodybuilding Rules créé par Eric Rallo. Je m'appelle Paul et je vais aujourd'hui vous faire l'interview du jeune bodybuilder anglais Owen Powell, ici présent. Donc bonjour Owen. Nous allons parler avec Owen de la quête vers un physique classique ou un physique old school. Bien entendu, Owen a un physique qui présente toutes les caractéristiques de ce physique. Il pratique aussi des routines de posing très esthétiques, très classiques. Nous en verrons des vidéos à la fin de cette interview, qui sont très loin des physiques surdéveloppés et presque animaliers qu'on peut retrouver aujourd'hui vraiment concentrés sur le volume. Donc Owen, il est aussi le vainqueur 2014 du UK BFF British Championship Classic Bodybuilding Tall Class. Donc une très belle victoire d'Owen à ce niveau-là. Et donc c'est un bodybuilder classique. Il en a aussi toutes les qualités mentales, puisqu'il cherche, et c'est ce qu'on retrouve partout sur sa page Facebook, à développer le côté classique et à faire revenir le bodybuilding à ses racines. Donc je vous invite tous à liker sa page, à le suivre dans son ascension vers le sommet et à le soutenir dans son entreprise de revenir vers les racines. C'est ce que fait Bodybuilding Rules Magazine, et Owen devient une vraie référence dans le côté old school du bodybuilding. Donc hello and welcome to all internet users and fans of the French bodybuilding magazine Bodybuilding Rules, created by Eric Rallo. So my name is Paul and I'm here to talk to you today for the topic about the young English bodybuilder Owen Powell and the quest towards having a more old school physique, a classical kind of physique. So Owen, of course, you have the physique of a classic bodybuilder. You also have the posing routine, which is very classic and aesthetic orientated. You are the 2014 winner of the UK BFF British Championship Classic Bodybuilding Tall Class, so it's a huge win. Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
And your physique is very far away from the overly developed, bulky, freaky, Phil Heath type of physique, we can say. You're very orientated towards all the old school era, and this is something that we can clearly find all over your Facebook page. So I invite everybody to like your page and follow you in your ascension to the top, because you clearly wish to bring back our sport, bodybuilding, to its classical roots, and this is a sentiment which is totally shared by our magazine. And so, as you become a benchmark, a reference towards classic bodybuilding, it's a great honor for the magazine to have this interview with you today, so thank you again for having us.
Thank you. It's an honor.
So Owen, before we start jumping into our main topic here, can you just say a few words about you, maybe where you are right now, where you live?
Yeah, I live in Kent in England. It's not too far from London.
Okay.
So southeast England. I'm actually not that far from France.
Yeah.
It would be easier for me. It would be faster for me to get to you than to get to my girlfriend on the other side of England.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm not too far.
So you're having a long distance relationship then?
Yes.
Yeah, can be tough sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I remember seeing a picture you posted on your Facebook a few weeks ago, I guess, where you were saying that, I'm quoting you, I could never decide whether to be an artist or an athlete, so I became both. Well, it's very inspiring. It's beautiful. Can you just tell us maybe when you grew up, was it an obviousness to you that you were going to be a bodybuilder?
No, I did a lot of sports when I was growing up. I didn't have a very good childhood, you know. I ran away from home when I was 15 with my family, so I came back here. But I always liked muscles, and I was always a good drawer. I always used to draw a lot, so I was always very artistic. I mean, I used to draw when I was a toddler. I could draw like an adult, you know. And most of the time I draw guys from comic books, you know, with muscles and stuff.
Yeah.
I was drawn to that. obviously, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger films and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't until I was, well, when I ran away, and then I started training, because I lived at my auntie's house, which was right next to a bodybuilding gym, which was kind of old school, like rusty weights and that sort of thing. And then when I got into it, I used to read Men's Health, which is like, it's kind of a very easy to attain physique, but I thought that's the best there was.
Yeah.
And then I started researching, and then I came across Danny Padilla was actually the first poster I had in my room.
Okay.
And I hung that up, and he was doing a vacuum pose with the double bicep, and I had that in my kitchen. I hung that up on the wall. So that's the physique. That was the best physique at the time that I aspired to look like. And then I switched from reading Men's Health to reading Flex magazine and seeing all the monsters and women and stuff, and it looked a little strange to me, because they were ripped, their body fat was very low, and they were huge with muscle, but it didn't look nice. It wasn't the sort of thing that I would want to draw, you know.
Yeah.
They had a distended gut and everything, and you know, I straight away I noticed, for my artistic eye, I noticed straight away that's not what bodybuilding should be like. You know, and then I refer back to the pictures of Francis Benfato and Samir Benoot and Danny Padilla, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Frank Zane, all the rest of them, and it's that's the look I like. That's the kind of physique I like to draw. You know, I've never sat there and thought, oh, I want to draw Marcus Raw. You know, it's just not. It's not a beautiful physique. It's not nice to look at. So. Yeah, so when I first started, I preferred those physiques.
Okay, well, the whole artistic, aspect of your life, it's something we can find also in Bob Paris. Because he was drawing lots of things when in his youth also, and decided to become a bodybuilder because he loved sport, but was not as performant in baseball, football, and all, and. Yeah, he was a drawer. Kai Green also is very famous for his paintings and too. Yeah, it's awesome. So maybe the first question we should ask you, because as I told you, this interview and the article will be all about you, but it's also going to be turned towards the old school era. I mean, the old school physique. And so maybe the first question we should ask ourselves is, according to you, how would you define a classical physique?
A classical physique is an aesthetic physique. You know, something that's beautiful. So very well proportioned. Symmetry is a must. And just to have that classic taper. You know, you have to have a V. You don't want to be straight up and down, and obviously no distension in the gut whatsoever.
Of course.
Muscular, but beautiful. I actually did an article for Flex magazine that's out right now, and I was quoted in that saying, you know, it's easy to be big, but to be big and beautiful is another story. It's
so
another
true. Yeah, so true. Can you give us maybe a few details on your training? Some tips, fun facts, maybe stuff you had to adapt to your body in order to develop a classical physique rather than a bulky physique.
Yeah, I do a lot of basic things. You know, I don't really do a lot of machines. Sometimes I have to improvise because I don't have the equipment. But most of the time I'm doing free weight stuff and old school exercises. I love dumbbell pullovers, for example, and I see a lot of people doing that. And if they do, they do it for chest, whereas I do it for you know, my rib cage and my lats. You know, so I use the exercise different. You know.
Okay.
I kind of switch from 1 week of high volume training and then 1 week like lower volume, more sort of Dorian Yates kind of thing. With,
HIIT training
and less sets, and then I do another week and I do crazy stuff. Like sometimes I do A few weeks ago I was doing 100 reps on everything.
Yeah, I saw your tricep video. Yeah,
it's crazy stuff. Like, I'd be throwing up in the workout and carrying on and just trying to hit that 100 reps on everything. But I think it's good to do crazy stuff like that, see how far you can push yourself sometimes. But the form's always there though, the form's always there. If you don't have the mind-muscle connection,
the sensation, the muscle working,
then what's the point? So that's crazy.
Well, that's awesome. You were talking about the dumbbell pullover, which is, I agree, a great exercise. So you use it to improve your vacuum pose, as you said. So you do it for your lats. You don't do it for your chest, apparently, from what you say.
No. So a lot of people that I see that do it. I mean, there's few people that do the exercise anyway anymore. But when they do it, you know, they pull it over and squeeze their chest. Whereas I kind of stretch all the way back, and I feel like it helps with my rib cage to open it up more, and also I feel it on my lats. Like one time I did do it for chest a long time ago, and then I took a few months off of training, came back on chest day and did pullovers, and then the next couple of days to a week my lats were hurting, not my chest. More. So then I thought, you know, it's not a chest exercise, so I use it differently.
And do you dedicate some time to work your serratus during your training? Or not especially?
Things like that. I think do anything where you're stretching that part of your body is going to work it. But I don't directly train abs ever. I've never trained abs. Just I feel like for me I like to keep a very small waist. So I feel like if you train your abs, they're just going to get bigger and blockier, and it's going to push your waist out. You know, so
it's all about the diet.
Yeah, I don't do deadlifts either. You know, because I think it might thicken your waist up, so I stay away from that.
Yeah, because you know when you do the Frank Zane vacuum pose. One striking detail is how the serratus pops out. So what I meant was, do you specifically work your serratus, not your abs, just the serratus, or not?
Again, not really. I mean, again, I think dumbbell pullovers is good for that.
To
be honest, I mean, I've just said that's good for like 3 different things, but I do think it helps with the serratus.
So you do pullovers several times a week?
A couple times,
A couple times a week, okay. You know, you were wondering in one of the videos, you didn't know exactly what did the vacuum do to your organs and everything inside. Well, there will be an article which will be attached, I think, to this video, where I will talk about that. And just a few words about it. You know, it's actually awesome for your organs. If your stomach is empty, because you have then a deep massage of your gut, your stomach and everything. You know, sometimes because we don't move that much anymore, we got blood stuck in the stomach and toxins, as then the blood is full of toxin and tend to poison our guts and all. And when you do this vacuum and all the contraction, it actually forces the blood out back in the vascular system, which cleans it. And so you bring back good blood and clean blood, and it's actually very, very good. And
so that's why I do it. That's why.
Exactly. You see, I mean, it's a great exercise. Indeed. Okay, so you were saying that you do a lot of pullovers, no deadlift. Mostly, you don't really train your abs or only body weight exercises.
I just don't do them.
You don't do them, right? Because you have amazing abdominals.
Everyone's shocked when I say that, because I have quite a good midsection. But when I say I don't train them, I don't do crunches and stuff like that and like side raises. But my stomach is always tensed. You know, like even now I'm sitting on a chair, my stomach is tense. Like if you were to punch it, it would be hard. You know, I always keep it tight. So I think that might be training abs, you know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, great. Do you think so? There are those particularities about your training, and are there other things that someone who wants to really go towards a classical physique and not at all towards a very bulky and volume with a physique with a lot of volume should be aware of, like you said? So no deadlifts, pullovers, other little things like that that maybe you do, so that not to become too bulky.
I don't think it's necessarily the things that I do. I think it's the way that I do them. You know, like I said, form is very important to me, and I'm always, you know, maybe I go a little bit slower than someone else, and weight is not that important to me. You know, I don't like to just move the weight from point A to point B. It's always got to be the mind-muscle connection's got to be there, and you kind of put your brain in the muscle, whatever you're working. So I might do bicep curl, and it might look the same as what somebody else is doing, but they have no thought. They're just lifting it, whereas I'm really trying to sculpt the muscle, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, you just pointed out, you know, the big difference between powerlifting and bodybuilding. How powerlifters move away from point A to point B, as you said, whereas bodybuilders are all about the sensation, the stretch and the contraction, and the mind-muscle connection, as you said. That's awesome. Okay. So you use a lot of free weights. You're not a big fan of your machines or cables, perhaps, because cables are your...
Yeah, I do quite a lot of cables.
Yeah.
If you count that as a machine. I just don't do a lot of machines in general. I like pec deck.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
That's one of the machines that I really like. I can't do flies because I have a problem with my AC joint. For some reason, it's just one exercise that I can't do. It hurts my shoulders. But when I do the pec deck, it's the same movement, but it's fine. I have no pain, so I like that machine. Yeah.
It's a pec deck you do with your elbows or with your hands, you know?
Yeah, this the second one.
Second one with the hands? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I have also a shoulder injury, and same thing, I can't really do flies, either dumbbells or cables, but when I do it on the pec deck, it's just, I have this awesome feeling in my pec, in my chest, and it's awesome. Yeah. So you were saying that you include some heavy training once a month. That's right. So you do a bit of power training also.
Yeah, I kind of rotate it. So I'll do like a crazier week, and then the following week will be more heavy. But you know, it's still 8 to 12 reps. You know, but just I might do 1 or 2 sets instead of like 5 or 6 or whatever. Yeah. And maybe get a little bit heavier weight out.
So you do a lot of pyramid set, perhaps warming up?
Yeah, I pretty much pyramid with almost everything.
Yeah, and all the time you pay attention to a very strict form, moving the weight slowly. Yeah, this is something also, you know, we say a lot in the magazine, and Francis Benfato insists on that with his new method. His new way of training, which consists of basically 7 sets you do, and 1 repetition can take as long as between 8 to 15 seconds.
Okay.
It's very interesting. I guess if you have time to talk to him, maybe you can exchange on that and share, you know, training advice.
Trying new things, especially for him. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, more casual questions. At what time do you train during the day usually?
Normally between 4 and 5. But if
PM or AM?
PM.
PM, yeah.
PM, yeah. So kind of in the middle. I like to get enough food in me before I train. You know.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be able to train productively if I just had 1 meal or 9 meals. So normally later on in the day.
So yeah, would you consider yourself a big eater with like 3 meals a day, or are you rather a normal eater with 5, 6, or maybe even 7 meals a day?
Yeah, I don't really have a big appetite, but I try and I do try and eat a lot. But if I get to a point, even if I don't like to stuff my face. If I get to a point I'm like I'm full, I never like to be bloated.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm always conscious of my waist and everything, and I don't want my stomach wall to grow.
Yeah.
So extend. So yeah, But then when I'm dieting, when I'm properly in it, and I'm doing cardio twice a day and everything, I'm like an animal. I'll eat anything, so I need to watch out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as you mentioned cardio, I mean, how do you train your cardio? Do you do rather least cardio, HIIT cardio? Do you combine both? How do you manage that?
Most of the time, I've got a treadmill in my house, so most of the time I'll just get up and I'll do fasted cardio, but then I also do it last thing at night, and I'll do kind of what I got it from Chris Aceto. I read a book that he had,
Okay.
and it's kind of like I do 2 minutes kind of moderate, and then I'll do 3 minutes really hard, like intense, like a really fast walk on an incline.
Yeah.
And then I'll go down to 2 minutes, and then I'll do 3 minutes again hard, 2 minutes, you know, and I'll rotate it like that.
Okay. And you keep the same regimen when you are in pre-contest time? And you just increase the amount of cardio you do, or do you change it completely?
Yeah, I don't do any cardio in the off season, but
Okay.
this is my first proper off season that I've had, to be honest.
Okay.
So I'm not doing any cardio now, but I'm very I stay lean all the time, you know. So
Yeah.
it's not hard for me to get in shape. So when I
Okay.
start cardio, then you know it's a tool to get rid of the body fat, and then if you've got rid of the body fat already, then you know I'll back off of it. So.
Okay. Yeah. So so you signed with Grenade, your supplement sponsor, a few months ago, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now do you have I guess before that you had to have several jobs apart from bodybuilding. I guess, do you now also have another job except training and representing your sponsor, or?
Yeah, I work in my gym kind of part time.
Okay.
So yeah, I do a few diets and training a few people, but you know not crazy amounts.
Okay. So are you going to maybe go towards being a fitness coach, a bodybuilding coach, to help your clients in your gym, or maybe having a website all over the world coaching clients, that kind of things?
I'm kind of selfish, man. So not as much. Most bodybuilders or fitness guys, they're all personal trainers and they've got hundreds of clients. But if I train someone, I'm very picky. I like to make sure that they're going to do the work, and you know, I think it's a waste of my time if I write them out a training program and everything and a diet plan, and then they just don't do it.
Yeah.
Or if I train them once a week and then the other 4 times, you know, they're slacking, what's the point? It makes me look bad. So
yeah. So maybe you would be interested in only coaching pros or very dedicated persons.
yeah, like a higher standard of an athlete.
Yeah, okay, I got you. Well, maybe you didn't know, but I am personally one of your biggest fan. I think you definitely inspire me a lot. I love your posing routines, the few posing videos I found of you on your Facebook page also, like the one for a guest pose. It's a friend of you, Tim Edwards, who posted the video. I guess you were posing on the V for Vendetta song.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing posing routine. You
said very good in that video, but yeah, I really enjoyed that. That was my first guest pose, okay. And normally I only get 60 seconds, but with that one I posed for 4.5, 5 minutes. They didn't hit the same pose twice.
Yeah.
And I remember the guy backstage said to me, how long is your posing routine? And I said 4.5 minutes. And he said, no, seriously, how long is it? I said, it's 4.5 minutes. And I said, I'm not going to go into the crowd once and like stick my tongue out and hit most musculars. I'm going to stay on stage and I'm going to put on a performance. So it's going to be very artistic, and I'll keep everyone on the edge of their seat, hopefully. And I did, and everyone loved it. So I don't think most people when they guest pose, at least in this country, it's kind of boring. You know, they hit 5 side chests, one after the other, and then you can see in their head that they had not practiced. They didn't plan nothing.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to make it up on the spot, and they're just doing compulsory poses over and over again, and it's boring. And it's out of time to like hip hop, you know, whereas I prefer more slower, like dramatic music. And I hit classical shots, you know.
Yeah. Well, when we take a look at some of the golden era, the bodybuilders and their posing routines, even just the music they use is completely different. I mean, there is a video of Francis Benfato doing his posing at the Olympia. It's an epic, kind of music. Bob Paris also used this type of music. Most of those guys use dramatic music, like the one you like to put to. You also said a few weeks ago, I think, on your Facebook page that you are really trying to help move back bodybuilding towards its classical roots, and this is your dream. And to do that, you wish to add more size, maybe to become more famous, to be able to have a better impact, I guess, on the sport. But do you think it's possible to add size again and again and keep a classical physique, or do you think at one point you would hit a wall, something that you can't add size and keep an old school?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I will hit a wall. I have no aspirations to be 280 pounds on stage like Kai Green or something. You know, I think it would ruin my physique. But I'm definitely still growing, and you know, I talk about it more like perfecting my masterpiece. You know, and it's nowhere finished yet. But I definitely don't want to get overly big and you know, start looking more like a monster than a sculpture. So I am very aware of it.
Okay.
Because I'm doing the open class this year, people think I'm, you know, gonna take a load of drugs and eat too much food and just come in looking completely different with a big waist, and it's just not going to happen. That's not me. It's not my.
This is something you won't sacrifice in proportions. Yeah. Okay, got you. So what would you say would be your weakest point on your physique right now?
My weakest point, I'd probably say my arm mass, or I think I need bigger arms. Mainly my triceps, I think.
The 3 heads?
Yeah, I think maybe the long head. You know, I don't really have a big sweep on it, which I'm definitely working on. So yeah, I think if I can improve my arms, I think everything else is in balance. I think I wouldn't say I have like spaghetti arms and they just don't look right, but you know, everything can always be improved.
Of course.
But you know, like for example, with my shoulders, they're very capped, and it can make my arms look a little smaller. So you know, I'll back off of my shoulders. I'm not afraid to back off just to make sure that everything's symmetrical. You know.
Yeah. About symmetry, I guess do you do a lot of dumbbell exercises to help with the symmetry, or do you work in another way?
Yeah, I do. A couple of years ago, I had one of my legs was almost 2 inches. Well, it was 2 inches bigger than the other one, and it was quite a noticeable difference.
Yeah.
And I didn't really do a lot of isolation, like single leg things. I still did it both legs, but I would just pay more attention to the left one.
Yeah.
You know, I would just give it a little bit more thought when I was doing something, and I brought it up in about 6 months, and it's exactly the same size. Everything now, I have a tape measure. I do measure it all the time. Everything right to left is the same size. you know, my arms are the same size, my calves are the same size. I mean, exactly same with the legs, and you know, I'm big on symmetry.
And do you monitor your measurements like that all week or every month?
Every couple of weeks I did it. Yeah.
Couple of weeks? Okay.
Yeah, I think if I did it like every day or every week, is, you know, you probably wouldn't see a difference.
Yeah, yeah.
But every couple of weeks.
Couple
It's the same with my diet. You know, I change it up every couple of weeks.
Okay.
I think that's enough time. You
know. Still talking about, you know, proportions and symmetry. You have probably heard about the golden ratio, which is around 1.6, I guess. You know, some artists and architects use it to help produce more beautiful sculptures or buildings. Like some buildings in Greece, we found that they were matching this golden ratio without knowing if Greek really paid attention to that, or it was just a consequence working toward a more beautiful building. So is it this golden ratio, is it something you have in mind, trying to bring your shoulders 1.6 times your waist or stuff like that? Or do you just, you know, take a look in the mirror and if it's and adjust?
Yeah, probably the second thing. I do go by the mirror a lot. You know, in my bedroom I have 2 giant mirrors. This is not my bedroom, by the way. This is not. But in my room I have 2 mirrors and one's tilted.
Yeah.
So I can see my back.
Your back, yeah.
And I do a lot of posing practice. I think that's a big reason why I might look different. You know, and I pose, and sometimes I close my eyes, and then I keep posing and imagine what I want to see.
Yeah.
I definitely have an image in my head of what I would like to look like eventually. You know, my masterpiece. So I pay very close attention to detail like that. So if I see something and I think it needs to be changed, and I'll work towards that. And
okay. Yeah.
I think everything a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's working, right? Do you have are you your own coach? I mean, do you train with a partner also, or do you train on your own? What do you prefer usually?
You mean training partner or a coach?
Yeah, yeah.
Training partner. I kind of switch around. Sometimes I train with. I have about 4 or 5 people that I switch around with. Okay. But most of the time I go in the gym expecting to train by myself, and then if one of these people that I like to train with wants to join in, then they do my workout.
Okay.
I don't follow them. They have to do what I do, and then they can train with me. So
okay.
I like to run the session. I like to be in control of my body.
Okay, well, it's very fine. So I guess you heard the other day Arnold's statement at the Arnold Classic when he asked, you know, about calling out on the judges to make them stop rewarding big, bulky, freaky physiques.
Yeah.
Do you think this is the best strategy to help bring back the sport to its classical roots, or do you see another way to do it?
I see another way to do it. I think Arnold's right, 100%. I couldn't believe he said it. Like he's my absolute hero. But
yeah, finally.
Yeah. I think to change a sport, you know, like when Dorian Yates came along in early 90s, and he was just so much different to everyone else, but kind of in a bad way. He was a freak. He was a monster.
The shadow.
And everyone else was smaller and more pleasing to look at. And then he comes along, and then he kind of single-handedly changed the sport. Then, and then everybody tried to follow him, and everybody starts getting too big, and they might not have the genetics or whatever, and they take too much drugs, and then the sport's changed. I think you can do the same the other way. You know, like right now, if in a couple years' time, if I was to turn pro and then I step on stage, you know, in the pro ranks, I think there's so many people that prefer the old school physiques that they would, you know, I would probably look out of place. You'd spot me straight away, but it might be a good thing. You know, like Dorian was so different.
Yeah.
I think it takes someone else to be so different again, and I think an athlete can do it rather than the judges, and I think the judging will change accordingly. I mean, that's my theory. I don't know if it's true.
Okay, so what you say, it will take the courage of an athlete to go on stage with the classical look, with the probability to lose if the judges judge the same way they judge today.
Yeah, I mean, for myself, if I was to get close to my masterpiece, and I think I'm how I want to look, and I'm happy with it, I have no problem standing on stage and getting dwarfed by someone 50 pounds heavier than me, because that's how I want to look. And if they still want to place me last, I think someone like Arnold or someone would step forward like he did with Cedric McMillan,
yeah,
and said, you know, he deserved to place higher. And I think they can only do that so long, and then that person will end up getting rewarded. There's so many people like us that love old school bodybuilding, and can't wrap our heads around like what's happening today. You know, how are they getting rewarded for it?
Yeah.
But everybody's doing it still. There's even people saying, "Oh, I hate it," but then they try and get huge, and they do it themselves, and
exactly,
it's ridiculous. The amount of pros that say like, "Oh, my favourite bodybuilder is Arnold Schwarzenegger or Frank Zane or something," but then they look nothing like them.
Yeah,
they're not doing anything like them, you know, and they just, you know, their head's that big.
Yeah. Well, we are at the magazine convinced this is also what we should, you know, tend to look forward to, and of course it will take brave athletes like you and a few years, I hope not too many, to go back to a more pleasing show and attract back people, and instead of, you know, give them impressions that they are going to a zoo or some kind of attraction like that. So do you have I mean, this is, I think, almost the end of this interview. We've covered a lot of interesting points regarding, you know, the golden era classic physiques and training and how you train. Just to keep it short, do you have maybe a message to the French fans, the fans of the Bodybuilding Rules Magazine, who are deeply motivated by classical physiques, and help them, you know, in a way to how to train together?
Yeah, I mean, if your goal is to look classical and, you know, old school, then I would say, you know, follow guys like Francis Benfar and his way of training, and, you know, look back and do your research on the type of physiques that you want to look like.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to look huge and whatever, you know, go and follow somebody that's huge. If you want to look classical, follow somebody that's classical. You know, that's what I've always done.
Yeah.
You know, I watch posing videos of guys from the 70s and the 80s and stuff, and that's what I'm inspired by. So why would I follow Marcus Haley, who dances on stage? You know, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, maybe it's an obvious advice, but it's so important actually, and people get lost, as you said, in reading articles that they are not interested in the first place. So can you tell us a bit more, to wrap it up, about your bodybuilding plans for the future? You were talking about, you know, going in the open class this year.
Yeah, I'm stepping up into the open class. Basically, the classic class, I like it. It's a height to weight ratio, but, you know, last year I had to really suck down to make the weight, and I just thought that's not bodybuilding, trying to purposely lose muscle. So I think it's time to step up, and also just because the class is no longer called the classic class that I'm doing, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to be classical, because not to slag anyone off, but in the classic class, besides me, there wasn't really any classic physiques. They're kind of like just smaller bodybuilders, like kind of straight up and down. They can't pose. They couldn't tell you who Francis Benfata is. They can, you know, they're not really classical bodybuilders. That's just the name of the class. So I think for me, jumping up into the open class, it's not going to be any different. I'm still going to be the same person and still classical, you know. But we'll see how I get on standing against guys shorter than me that are much bigger. But yeah, that's my plan this year, just to hold out and do the British and the light heavies probably.
Okay. Talking about other class, what are your thoughts regarding, you know, the physiques of guys in the men's physique class? Would you say that they have a classical kind of physique or not really?
I have a lot of friends that do men's physique and stuff like that, and I think they're very nice to look at. They are aesthetic in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, when they're standing there relaxed, they look great. But if you was to tell one of them to hit a front double bicep, I think you'd notice that the shape's not there. You know, with a lot of them.
Yeah, the V taper is not.
Yeah, some of them do. Some of them do look really good. But I think a lot of them go into that class because they feel like they're going to get dwarfed in the bodybuilding. You know, I think I'm one of the only guys that's kind of men's physique kind of size, but I'm not afraid to go up against a monster and try and prove that I'm better than him and stand next to him. You know, so a lot of guys think, oh, that's for monsters. I'm not going to do bodybuilding. I'm going to do men's physique. Okay. And I think that's a real shame, because a lot of these men's physique guys have got really good physiques and they would make good bodybuilders, but they might just be too scared. I don't know.
Mm. Okay. Well, if you have anything to add, so everybody knows that we can find you this weekend at the FIBO in Germany, at the Grenade stand, to ask you any questions they want. If you have anything to add, now is the time. So please, yeah, say everything you want.
I just want to say thank you to you for giving me this opportunity. I'm flattered. Yeah, I really am. I'm very. I like to think I'm humble, and I do appreciate anything anyone does for me. And I'm always shocked if anybody says they're a fan still or anything like that. So, you know, I'm not cocky or anything like that. But yeah, thanks a lot, and thank you to my sponsor Grenade as well for supporting me. Massive help. And yeah, thanks to everyone that's listening or watching this or whatever. So, thank you.
Well, thank you again, Owen, for this interview. You have definitely a physique that most of us would like to have, and we try to tend to. And as you said, you are a very genuine person, and it's very nice to be able to talk to you. And you are indeed humble. It's a great quality. Please keep it along your way to the top.
Thanks.
And so we'll see you soon in the magazine.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.